We'll continue with Norway. We talked about Norway and their issue with third-party risk.
Ivanti's zero-day exploit disrupts Norway's government services. Cyber attackers have used a zero-day exploit to compromise up to 12 Norwegian government departments. A zero-day authentication bypass vulnerability in Ivanti software was exploited to carry out an attack on the Norwegian Ministries security and service organization.
I'll say it's like, I'm not gonna say where you work, but it's the corporate arm of where you work. You know what I mean? So I'm excited for it.
The attack affected communications networks at 12 Norwegian government ministries, according to the original statement.
Every job sucks, you know? According to the original statement, preventing employees in these departments from accessing mobile services and emails.
The government noted that the Prime Minister's office, the Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of Justice and Emergency Preparedness, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs were not impacted. What was the Ivanti security vulnerability? According to a statement posted by the Norwegian Security Authority, the flaw is a remote unauthenticated API access vulnerability, CVE 2023-35078, in the Ivanti Endpoint Manager. The bug would allow a remote attacker to obtain information, add an administrative account, and change the device's configuration, due to an authentication bypass. The vulnerability affects several software versions, including version 11.4 and older. Versions and releases from 11.10 are also at risk. A statement from the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, said the vulnerability allows unauthenticated access to specific API paths, which a cyber attacker can use to access personally identifiable information, such as names, phone numbers, and other mobile device details for users on a vulnerable system. Tenable senior research engineer Satnam Narang said in a blog post that an attacker could potentially utilize the unrestricted API paths to modify a server's configuration file, which could result in the creation of an administrative account for the Endpoint Manager's management interface, known as EP, short for Endpoint Manager Mobile, that can then be used to make further changes to a vulnerable system. According to a post by Ivanti, the company had received information from a credible source indicating exploitation has occurred. A follow-up blog by Ivanti said that upon learning of the vulnerability, we immediately mobilized resources to fix the problem and have a patch available now for supported versions of the product. For customers on an earlier version, we have an RPM script to assist in remediation. The company also said it is only aware of a very limited number of customers that have been impacted, and it is actively working with customers and partners to investigate the situation. What is the government's response? The Norwegian National Cybersecurity Authority said they have had an ongoing dialogue with Ivanti and other partners to help close the impact of the vulnerability, and a number of measures have been taken to reduce and minimize the risk that the vulnerability could cause both in Norway and globally. All known mobile iron core users in Norway have been made aware of available security updates, and the government recommends that security updates be installed immediately. Sofie Nystrom, Director General of the Norwegian National Security Authority, said, "This vulnerability was unique and was discovered for the very first time here in Norway. If we had published information about the vulnerability too early, it could have contributed to its abuse elsewhere in Norway and in the rest of the world. The update is now widely available, and it is prudent to announce what kind of vulnerability it is."
Good for them. This is just an update on the story we've already heard. Thank you for liking the tweets. Okay, so unauthenticated API access appears to be the culprit in the compromise of a dozen of Norwegian government entities or governing bodies. Or what's the correct terminology here? Let's see. They call them government ministries, I guess. Ivanti Endpoint Manager. Let's take a look at that. What is that exactly? Ivanti Endpoint Manager. Okay, so it's just like a normal endpoint manager for all the devices and clients. To monitor and administer all of the client devices used. So the impact in Ivanti Endpoint Manager, used by these agencies. Okay. Send tweet. And then ASCII. I went to the Ivanti website to read about them, and they're trying to sell me their product. It's like, bro, you just got fucked up. Maybe you should focus on your security instead. Bam, got them. Like sending those little chatbot messages. It's like, hello, would you like to buy some malware? No, but the patches are already out. The patches are already out. Would you like to buy a little malware? Just a little malware, please. Maybe have some money. Go ahead and check it out, guys.